I've gone through a lot of free video editing softwares, and in that process, I've come across possibly one of the best free video editing softwares. It's called DaVinci Resolve. It's made by Blackmagic Design. They also make super expensive cameras, and the software alone costs $300 if you were to buy it. But luckily, the free version has almost all the same features as the paid version. Actually, the paid version does have quite a few more. But for most people, you won't need the paid version. So, yeah. In my years of free video editing software usage, I've probably used around 20 free softwares, and I've only really used like 3 thoroughly. Those being Windows Movie Maker. Well, I suppose I used the Vista version and then the newer version. I'm not sure what that one's called. And then I've used VSDC, I believe it's called. I might be wrong there. And then finally, DaVinci Resolve. There are loads of other ones in there because, you gotta try some to find the good ones. And since Windows Movie Maker isn't available anymore, I don't recommend it, but if you have it, it's fine for basic cutting up of clips. But let's be honest here, you shouldn't be using Movie Maker in 2018. So yeah, it's just not a good idea in 2018. It's not efficient. It's not been updated for ages. It's not even officially supported by Microsoft anymore. So yeah. DaVinci Resolve does require quite a lot of resources. Oh, come on. I don't know why it's doing that. I have to restart my computer. As you'll see, I haven't restarted it for 10 days. So that might have an effect. So you'll see it's loading up right now, and we're at about... Oop, where did it go to? Yeah, give it a minute. It does require quite a lot of system resources. You'll see we're here on the loading screen, or project manager screen, and we're already at 750 megabytes of RAM. But if I scroll through this, just to load all these projects into memory, come on, it will go up to about a gigabyte. Go away. Okay. And yeah, so probably don't use this on a 32-bit system. I'm just saying. So DaVinci Resolve has folders in their project manager, but I rarely use them, as you can see. I normally just click new project, but you don't have to. So you got your media pool here, and it's got, you put all your videos in here, and I happen to have one right here. So key features of DaVinci Resolve: you can do basic video editing, I guess. You can add text to your videos, as you'll see I already have pulled up here. You can add transitions to your video to your heart's content. You can edit your audio. Well, you can add audio transitions. Editing your audio is something that very few other softwares allow you to do in real time, and DaVinci Resolve lets you do it in real time for free. So yeah, I forgot where I was going with that sentence, and then I had to correct myself. Whoops. So not only does it have color correction, but it also has, you can track footage in DaVinci Resolve, or you can track parts of your video in DaVinci Resolve. So say you want to blur a specific part of your video, you can set up this tracker here. I've done a tutorial on it. I don't remember how to use it anymore because I only learned how to do it for the tutorial. And yeah, there's way more stuff that I haven't even learned or started to learn how to do. So yeah, DaVinci Resolve has quite the learning curve. So yeah, let me throw this into the thing here. I'm gonna mute it really quick. So you'll see here that in your color tab you can do green screens even for free. I've done tutorials on this, I believe. I've done hundreds of DaVinci, probably not hundreds, but I've done a lot of DaVinci Resolve tutorials. What? It doesn't even make sense. What? we'll just go with it. What? Oh yes, I remember. Haha, I'm stupid. Width, there we go. So you can see I've done my green screen here even pretty fast. Yeah, I mean, okay, it does require work, but you know, I've done a green screen. There are then you got your qualifier. I don't really know how to use these properly. I generally just use this tab of that. Your audio editing, they've changed it recently. I'm not entirely sure why, because I quite liked it. My phone records in a single track, and I have to fix that manually. Give me a minute. I have a Google Pixel. I feel like a flagship phone from Google should record in stereo, but whatever. Criticisms aside, and if you zoom all the way in, you can change each individual frame, is that the word, of your audio, and that's something that, like, you could do this if you, I mean, if you could grab them while it was playing, you could easily change it, I guess. You can edit your, like, EQ, dynamics, pan, all this stuff in real time, which once again is something very few other softwares allow you to do. And yeah, it's just really a nice software. It looks really nice, unlike VSDC, which I've mentioned before in this video. My problem with the VSDC is its UI was super outdated, and it was just a pain to learn. It just wasn't worth the time it took to learn. So I didn't bother. DaVinci Resolve also has quite the learning curve, but I've used it for a very long time, probably about a year and a half now, and I can tell you it's really worth it. I did start out barely knowing how to trim videos, and now I'm just like, oh, that's easy. And yeah, it's just a super easy thing to do. OpenFX, only some of these, you're only allowed to use some of these unless you pay for the software, which is fine. I don't really care. Yeah, in your render tab you'll see you have presets for all of these things: Final Cut Pro, Premiere XML, Avid AAF, Pro Tools, and audio only, as well as YouTube, Vimeo, Vimeo, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. You can also do a completely custom thing, and they've actually just recently added MP4 and H.264 support, so thanks DaVinci Resolve. Yeah, MP4 right here. This is generally what I'll use. I used to use MOV, I think, no, QuickTime, which I generally prefer to use, I'll be honest with you, because QuickTime, in my experience, just generally works a bit nicer with everything else. Yeah. So, yeah, DaVinci Resolve is quite amazing. They've also recently added this 4K button here, but you really don't have to use that. You can just go into video, then do this here. You can even go higher than 4K. You can even render in 8K, which I kind of want to try now. I want to see how long that'll take. But yeah, DaVinci Resolve is an amazing software. Granted, now we're using around 2.2 gigabytes of RAM, but that's on the low end too. By the way, that's the low end of the RAM usage. In the past, I've optimized it a lot, but when I first started using it, they were only on DaVinci Resolve 12 or 12.5. I don't even remember. I think it was 12. And back then, it would use like 5 gigabytes for like super small projects. It just loaded everything into RAM. But now it's gotten way more efficient, and I think it actually has started caching things properly. Here's the folder it uses for cache, or at least used to use for cache. I'm not sure if it still does. It might not even use it for cache anymore, because I moved a bunch of stuff around when I got this new hard drive, which then filled up quite fast. And yeah, kind of, I assume, messed itself up a bit. But yeah, DaVinci Resolve, if you have the time to learn it, and it doesn't take too much effort to learn. I've made plenty of tutorials. Other people have made way better tutorials than me. But, you know, my recent tutorials, check those out. If you want to check out my older tutorials, they're not very good, but they do have valuable information in my opinion. So, feel free to check those out. I do not have a playlist, so sorry. But if you're on a PC, what you can do, thanks car driving around outside, what you can do is go to YouTube, then click search here, and then just search up. Come on. DaVinci. And that should get more of my recent ones, because I used to spell it DaVinci, or however Google wants you to spell it. DaVinci. Because Google wants you to spell it some weird way in the past. But yeah, thank you for watching this video. I hope it helped you find a good video editing software. And yeah, in the past it has crashed a lot on me, but they have fixed it a lot since I made this 7 months ago. Yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.